Hello, everyone, and welcome. Have you ever felt that knot in your stomach, the one that forms when you know something isn't right, but the words just won't come out? Maybe you saw a colleague being treated unfairly, or witnessed a situation that went against your core beliefs, and you chose silence. Silence, they say, is golden, but in the intricate tapestry of human interaction, it can also be a dangerously sharp blade. In a world rife with injustice, miscommunication, and conflict, fueled by the inertia of inaction, choosing silence isn't merely about dodging a confrontation. It's a deliberate choice, a conscious act that often inadvertently aligns you with the forces of oppression, wrongdoing, or the perpetuation of a stagnant and potentially harmful status quo. Think back to a moment when you opted to remain quiet, perhaps at work, observing a colleague subjected to unjust treatment, or at home, where antiquated traditions clashed with your evolving values. Did that silence truly serve as a shield, safeguarding your personal comfort, or did it morph into a form of complicity, tacitly condoning the very actions you found objectionable? Today, we're embarking on a journey to explore 5 critical situations where remaining silent isn't just the easier option, it's a profound betrayal of your own integrity, a compromise of your values, and a missed opportunity to contribute to a more just and equitable world. These are moments that demand courage, clarity, and decisive action, principles deeply interwoven with the tenets of Stoic philosophy, a school of thought that emphasizes virtue, reason, and living in accordance with nature. We'll delve into practical examples, dissect the psychology behind our silence, and equip you with the tools to transform passive observation into active participation. Before we dive in, I want to extend a heartfelt thank you for the incredible support you've shown on this channel. It brings me so much joy to create these videos, and it's even more fulfilling to read your thoughtful and encouraging comments. I read every single one and value your feedback immensely. Your engagement inspires me to keep exploring these important topics. If this is your first time here, please hit the like button and turn on notifications so YouTube can help more people like you discover this content. Your support helps this channel grow and allows us to reach a wider audience with these empowering messages. It allows me to continue putting in the hours required to write these scripts and provide the video editing required. I also love hearing stories in the comments, they are always inspirational and educational. Now, are you ready to confront the power of your voice, to unlock your potential for positive change, and to embark on a journey of self-discovery and ethical action? Let's dive in and unpack these 5 pivotal scenarios where silence is not golden, but rather a heavy burden on your conscience. Situation number 1, when injustice is happening. Injustice isn't just some abstract concept confined to history books or political debates. It's a slow-acting poison that insidiously seeps into the very foundation of our communities and relationships, eroding trust, dignity, and the fundamental principles of fairness that bind us together. To remain silent in the face of injustice isn't neutrality, a passive observation from the sidelines, it's an active, albeit often unintentional, choice to allow that poison to spread unchecked, to permit the erosion to continue unabated. In essence, you are indirectly condoning the act, and that's where it becomes so dangerous. Stoic philosophy, with its unwavering emphasis on virtue and reason, elevates justice not merely to the status of a desirable attribute but to the level of a non-negotiable responsibility. For the Stoics, living a virtuous life meant actively contributing to the well-being of the community, and that included standing up against any form of injustice. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, poignantly stated, "What's not good for the hive is not good for the bee." This concise yet profound quote encapsulates the core truth that allowing harm to persist anywhere within a community ultimately harms everyone within it, including those who choose to remain silent, believing themselves to be unaffected. The interconnectedness of society means that injustice, like a contagious disease, will eventually spread and impact even the most insulated individuals. So, why do we so often choose silence, even when our conscience screams for us to speak out? Often, it's out of fear. A primal, deeply ingrained fear of confrontation, of disrupting the existing order, of facing retaliation for our actions, of standing alone against a powerful force. These fears, while undeniably human and understandable, can paralyze us, rendering us incapable of action and making us, in effect, complicit in the very harm we desperately hope to avoid. We rationalize our silence, telling ourselves that it's not our place to intervene, that someone else will handle it, or that speaking up will only make things worse. Yet, there's a profound and often tragic irony embedded within this calculus of silence. While it may feel like a way to preserve peace, to avoid conflict, or to safeguard our own interests, silence almost always creates deeper chaos, exacerbates existing tensions, and perpetuates the cycle of injustice. Silence is a breeding ground for injustice, a fertile environment where prejudice and oppression can take root and flourish. Injustice, like a festering wound left unattended, only grows worse when ignored, becoming more deeply entrenched and more difficult to eradicate. I learned this lesson the hard way, early in my career, in a situation that continues to haunt me to this day. A colleague of mine, a dedicated and hard-working individual, was unjustly blamed for a mistake they didn't commit. I knew the truth, I possessed the information that could exonerate them, and I had the opportunity to speak up, to defend them against the unwarranted accusations. But I hesitated. I allowed fear to cloud my judgment, convincing myself that it wasn't my place to intervene, that it was a matter best left to management, and that intervening could jeopardize my position, potentially harming my career prospects. The fear of standing out, of being perceived as a troublemaker, effectively silenced me. I watched as my colleague endured unwarranted criticism, bore the brunt of unfair accusations, and suffered the consequences of a mistake they didn't make. It felt like watching a slow-motion betrayal, not just of them, but of my own values, of the principles of fairness and justice that I held dear. The guilt of my inaction, the weight of my complicity, stayed with me long after the situation had passed, a constant reminder of my moral failure. I realized that by prioritizing my own comfort, by valuing my own security above the well-being of another human being, I had failed them and, in a profound sense, failed myself. Over time, I've come to understand that silence in the face of injustice is a betrayal, not only of the victim who suffers directly but also of the very integrity we claim to uphold, the moral compass that guides our actions. It's a tacit endorsement of wrongdoing, a silent agreement that injustice is acceptable, and a weakening of the bonds of trust that hold our communities together. Fighting injustice doesn't always require dramatic gestures, heroic actions, or grand pronouncements. Sometimes, it's about the small but courageous moments, the seemingly insignificant acts of defiance that collectively create a ripple effect of positive change. It's about speaking the truth in a meeting, even when it's uncomfortable, standing by someone when they're unfairly attacked, offering support to those who are marginalized, or simply refusing to be a bystander, turning a blind eye to the suffering of others. These seemingly small acts, these individual moments of courage, ripple outward, fostering trust, empowering others to do the same, and gradually transforming the culture of our communities. They demonstrate that we are not alone in our commitment to justice, that there are others who share our values and are willing to stand with us. Stoic philosophy teaches us that courage isn't about being fearless, about the absence of fear, it's about acting in spite of fear, about choosing to do what is right, even when it's difficult, even when it carries personal risk. Injustice thrives when good people say nothing, when those who know better remain silent, allowing the forces of oppression to continue unchecked. Choosing silence might feel safe, convenient, or even prudent in the moment, but it ultimately undermines our character, erodes our integrity, and enables harm to continue, potentially impacting us and those we care about in the long run. The next time you witness an injustice, the next time you see someone being treated unfairly, ask yourself, is my comfort more important than someone else's dignity? Is my fear of conflict worth the cost of allowing harm to go unchallenged? What message am I sending by remaining silent? The lessons from this are clear and compelling. First, standing up against injustice builds moral character, strengthens the bonds of trust within a community, and enhances our own sense of self-worth. People remember those who defend what's right, even when it's difficult, even when it's unpopular. Your actions will inspire others to act. Second, our courage inspires others, creating a positive feedback loop of ethical behavior. Every act of standing up to injustice lights a path for others to follow, demonstrating that it is possible to make a difference, even in the face of adversity. Lastly, silence can never buy true peace, it merely postpones the inevitable reckoning. True peace comes from the presence of justice, from a society where everyone is treated with dignity and respect, not from its absence, from the suppression of dissent and the perpetuation of inequality. Remember, speaking out against injustice isn't just an act of bravery, it's an act of humanity, a recognition of our shared responsibility to create a more just and equitable world. Injustice may thrive in darkness, in the shadows of indifference and apathy, but even a small light, a single voice raised in opposition, can drive it away, illuminating the path toward a brighter future. You don't need to change the world in a single act, to solve all the problems of society overnight, but by choosing to speak up, by refusing to remain silent in the face of injustice, you take a stand that has the power to ripple outward, creating a world that's just a little bit brighter, a little bit more fair, and a little bit more compassionate for everyone. Situation number 2, when your boundaries are being crossed. Boundaries are not just personal preferences, arbitrary lines drawn in the sand based on individual whims. They are the invisible, yet incredibly powerful, lines that define respect, trust, and integrity in any relationship, whether it's a personal friendship, a professional collaboration, or a family connection. They are the framework within which healthy interactions can flourish, ensuring that everyone feels safe, valued, and respected. When someone crosses those lines, when they disregard your expressed limits and expectations, remaining silent sends a dangerous message, that your limits are negotiable, that your comfort and dignity are secondary to their desires, and that you are willing to tolerate disrespect. This silence can embolden the boundary crosser, leading to further violations and a gradual erosion of the relationship. The Stoics, with their emphasis on self-control, reason, and virtue, teach us to honor our own values, to prioritize our own well-being, and to not let external forces dictate our sense of self-worth. As Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher, said, "No one is free who is not master of himself." This means taking responsibility for setting and enforcing your own boundaries, refusing to allow others to dictate your actions or compromise your values. Defending your boundaries is not an act of hostility, not an aggressive attempt to control others, it is an act of self-respect, a clear declaration that you value yourself and your well-being. Moreover, it is a valuable lesson in teaching others how to treat you, setting a precedent for respectful and considerate interactions in the future. By clearly articulating your boundaries and consistently enforcing them, you create a culture of respect around you, encouraging others to treat you with the same consideration you show them. I once had a relative who consistently borrowed money without returning it, each request accompanied by heartfelt promises to pay me back soon, promises that were invariably broken. At first, I rationalized their behavior, convincing myself that helping family was my duty, that lending them money was a small price to pay for maintaining familial harmony. But over time, their requests became more frequent, the amounts grew larger, and the burden on my own finances became increasingly significant. I began to feel resentment, not just because of the financial strain but because I realized they were taking advantage of my kindness, exploiting my willingness to help. Finally, after yet another request for a substantial sum of money, I decided to confront the issue, to break the cycle of lending and broken promises. I explained to them, calmly and respectfully, that while I cared about them deeply and wanted to support them, I could no longer lend them money without accountability, without a clear plan for repayment. I set a clear boundary, stating that I was willing to help in other ways, perhaps by offering advice, providing support, or connecting them with resources, but not financially, not until they demonstrated a commitment to repaying their debts. They were hurt and defensive at first, accusing me of being selfish and uncaring, of prioritizing money over family. But I stood my ground, calmly reiterating my position and explaining my reasons. Eventually, they acknowledged my perspective, recognizing that their behavior had been unfair and that I had a right to protect my financial stability. It was not an easy conversation, filled with emotion and potential for conflict, but it was a necessary one. It allowed me to protect my financial stability, prevent further exploitation, and ultimately preserve our relationship on healthier terms, built on mutual respect and understanding. This situation revealed a profound truth: failing to enforce boundaries, allowing others to repeatedly cross our lines, can lead to exploitation, resentment, and fractured relationships. When we allow others to repeatedly disregard our limits, we compromise not only our principles but also the very foundation of mutual respect upon which healthy relationships are built. Stoicism reminds us that we are ultimately responsible for how we allow others to treat us, that we have the power to set the terms of our interactions and to demand respect for our boundaries. Setting boundaries is not about rejecting others, not about isolating ourselves from the world, it's about affirming your self-worth, recognizing your inherent right to be treated with dignity, and demanding that interactions be built on fairness, respect, and mutual understanding. The way you communicate your boundaries is crucial to their effectiveness and to the preservation of healthy relationships. Deliver your message with firmness, clarity, and conviction, but also with empathy, understanding, and a genuine desire to maintain a positive connection. Ensure that your intentions are clear, that you are not trying to control or manipulate the other person, but rather to protect your own well-being and to foster a more respectful relationship. Explain how the behavior impacts you, how it makes you feel, and why it is important for you to set this particular boundary. Outline the changes you need to see, the specific actions that will demonstrate respect for your limits. This approach fosters understanding, avoids unnecessary conflict, and allows both parties to move forward with clarity and mutual respect, preserving the relationship while safeguarding your boundaries. Boundaries are not about shutting people out, about building walls around ourselves and isolating ourselves from human connection. They are about protecting what matters most to you: your time, your energy, your values, your emotional well-being, and your sense of self-worth. By speaking up when your boundaries are crossed, by clearly articulating your limits and consistently enforcing them, you send a powerful message: you value yourself, you respect your own needs, and you expect others to do the same. As Marcus Aurelius said, the best revenge is not to be like your enemy. Instead of harboring bitterness, seeking retribution, or avoiding the issue altogether, respond with confidence, integrity, and a commitment to your own well-being. In doing so, you not only safeguard your own well-being but also create healthier, more respectful relationships, where trust and understanding can truly flourish, where everyone feels valued and respected, and where boundaries are seen as essential components of a positive and sustainable connection. Situation number 3, when honesty is needed to uphold integrity. Honesty is the backbone of integrity, the bedrock upon which trust is built, and the cornerstone of any ethical system. It's the unwavering commitment to truthfulness, transparency, and authenticity in our words and actions. Yet, in moments of discomfort, when faced with the potential for conflict or negative consequences, it's often the first thing we sacrifice, the first principle we compromise in the pursuit of self-preservation or social harmony. Staying silent when the truth is needed isn't just avoiding conflict, it's actively compromising your own principles, betraying your own values, and undermining the foundation of your integrity. It creates a dissonance between your internal compass and your external actions, leading to feelings of guilt, shame, and a diminished sense of self-worth. Stoic philosophy places immense value on living in alignment with virtue, on acting in accordance with reason and moral principles. Honesty is a cornerstone of that alignment, an essential component of a virtuous life. As Marcus Aurelius once said, "If it is not right, do not do it; if it is not true, do not say it." This simple yet profound statement encapsulates the Stoic commitment to truthfulness, urging us to align our actions and words with our inner moral compass. But what about when silence becomes a lie, when withholding the truth allows deception or harm to persist? In such situations, silence becomes a betrayal, not just of others who are affected by the deception but also of yourself, of your own commitment to honesty and integrity. I once faced a moment in my career that tested my commitment to honesty in a particularly challenging way. During a team meeting, a superior presented a report containing glaring inaccuracies, factual errors that were readily apparent to everyone in the room. The errors weren't intentional, they were the result of oversight and miscommunication. However, they painted a misleading picture, presenting a situation more favorably than it actually was, and potentially leading to significant negative consequences down the line. Everyone in the room noticed the discrepancies, but no one spoke up. The atmosphere was thick with unspoken tension, a collective unwillingness to challenge authority or disrupt the established order. I could feel the weight of silence pressing down, each passing second making it harder to act, increasing the pressure to conform to the prevailing inertia. My instinct was to stay quiet, to avoid confrontation, to let someone else handle it, to hope that the issue would somehow resolve itself without my intervention. But I knew that if I didn't speak, if I allowed the report to go unchallenged, the misleading information would be perpetuated, and my silence would make me complicit in the deception. Summoning my courage, I pointed out the errors, carefully and respectfully, focusing on the factual inaccuracies and avoiding any personal accusations or criticisms. The reaction was tense, the room grew quiet, and I could feel the weight of everyone's gaze upon me. But ultimately, the team acknowledged the mistake, corrected the inaccuracies in the report, and the project moved forward with integrity intact. The situation was diffused, the potential consequences were averted, and the overall outcome was significantly improved. That experience taught me that honesty, while uncomfortable in the moment, while potentially leading to conflict or negative consequences, is what ultimately upholds the long-term trust and respect of those around you. It demonstrates your commitment to truthfulness, your willingness to prioritize accuracy over personal comfort, and your unwavering dedication to ethical behavior. Stoicism reminds us that courage and honesty are intertwined, that it takes courage to speak the truth, especially when it's difficult or unpopular. To be honest when it's easy, when there are no potential consequences, is no great feat. To be honest when it's difficult, when it carries personal risk, is a true measure of character, a testament to your unwavering commitment to integrity. People respect those who are willing to stand in the light of truth, even when it casts uncomfortable shadows, even when it reveals flaws or imperfections. They recognize the value of honesty, the importance of transparency, and the courage it takes to speak the truth, even when it's unpopular. But honesty doesn't mean brutal candor, unnecessary harshness, or a lack of compassion. It means having the courage to say what is necessary, to communicate the truth in a way that is both clear and respectful, both direct and empathetic. It's not about exposing others for the sake of self-righteousness, about seeking to shame or humiliate them. It's about fostering clarity, promoting authenticity, and creating an environment where trust can flourish. When you choose honesty, you set a standard for yourself and those around you, creating an environment where integrity thrives and deceit withers. You demonstrate that you value truthfulness, that you prioritize ethical behavior, and that you are willing to stand up for what is right, even when it's difficult. So, the next time you face a situation where the truth is at stake, the next time you are tempted to remain silent in the face of dishonesty, remember this: your silence may preserve temporary harmony, avoid immediate conflict, or protect your own interests in the short term, but it will erode the foundation of trust over time, damaging your relationships, undermining your integrity, and ultimately diminishing your sense of self-worth. Upholding honesty is not always about winning arguments, proving a point, or achieving a desired outcome. It's about staying true to yourself and what you stand for, about aligning your actions with your values, and about living a life of integrity. In a world where truth is often blurred by convenience and fear, where deception is often used as a tool for manipulation and control, your commitment to honesty can be a guiding light, both for yourself and for others, illuminating the path toward a more ethical and just world. As the Stoics teach, living virtuously isn't always easy. It often requires courage, self-discipline, and a willingness to sacrifice short-term gains for long-term integrity. But it is always worth it, ultimately leading to a life of purpose, fulfillment, and lasting satisfaction. Speak up when the truth is needed, let your honesty be the foundation of your integrity, and strive to live a life that is both authentic and virtuous, a life that inspires others to do the same. Situation number 4, when a mistake needs correction. Mistakes, unfortunately, are an inevitable part of the human experience. We are all fallible beings, prone to errors in judgment, lapses in attention, and oversights in execution. However, it is not the mistakes themselves that define us, but rather how we respond to them. Mistakes left unaddressed, allowed to fester and multiply, have a way of growing into larger problems, like cracks in a dam that may seem small and insignificant at first but can eventually cause catastrophic failure, leading to widespread damage and irreversible consequences. Correcting a mistake isn't about pointing fingers, assigning blame, or dwelling on the past. It's about preserving the integrity of the whole, about safeguarding the overall outcome, and about learning from our errors to prevent future occurrences. Stoic philosophy teaches us the importance of courage and accountability, especially in situations where staying silent might seem more convenient, where ignoring the mistake might allow us to avoid conflict or embarrassment. The Stoics believe that virtue lies in acting in accordance with reason and justice, even when it's difficult, even when it carries personal risk. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, what stands in the way becomes the way. In the context of mistakes, this means that addressing errors directly, confronting them head-on, is not an obstacle to be avoided but rather the very path to progress, the means by which we learn, grow, and improve. There was a time early in my career when a critical error was overlooked during a team presentation, an oversight that could have had significant repercussions. It was a minor detail in the moment, a miscalculation on a financial report that seemed insignificant and easily dismissed. But I realized that if left uncorrected, if allowed to propagate through the system, it could lead to a series of faulty decisions, potentially resulting in substantial financial losses and reputational damage for the company. I hesitated, unsure whether to speak up and risk disrupting the presentation or to remain silent and hope that the error would go unnoticed. After all, the mistake wasn't mine, I hadn't been directly involved in preparing the report. And bringing it up could embarrass the person responsible, potentially damaging their career prospects and creating animosity within the team. But as the Stoics often emphasize, it's not about the individual, about protecting personal interests or avoiding discomfort, it's about the greater good, about upholding the integrity of the whole, and about ensuring that the best possible outcome is achieved. Summoning my resolve, I interrupted the discussion, politely and respectfully pointing out the error, explaining the potential consequences, and offering a suggested correction. The room grew quiet, I could feel the tension in the air, the collective unease of a carefully choreographed presentation being disrupted. Yet, rather than creating conflict or causing embarrassment, addressing the issue led to a productive discussion, a collaborative effort to rectify the mistake and prevent a costly misstep down the road. The team acknowledged the error, revised the report, and the project moved forward with greater accuracy and confidence. This experience taught me that correcting mistakes isn't about criticism, about assigning blame, or about seeking to punish those who have erred, it's about accountability, about taking responsibility for our actions and for the overall outcome. Stoicism underscores that courage is not just physical bravery, the willingness to face physical danger, it's the willingness to act morally and ethically, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it carries personal risk. When you correct a mistake, you're not just protecting the immediate outcome, you're setting a precedent for honesty and vigilance within your community, creating a culture where errors are acknowledged, addressed, and learned from. The key to handling mistakes lies in your approach, in the way you communicate the error and offer solutions. Address the issue with respect, focusing on solutions rather than faults, and ensuring that your intention is to improve the outcome, not to belittle or humiliate the person who made the mistake. By doing so, you create an environment where mistakes are not feared, where errors are not swept under the rug, but embraced as opportunities for growth, learning, and improvement. Ignoring a mistake for the sake of harmony, allowing an error to persist in order to avoid conflict, is a disservice to everyone involved, ultimately leading to larger consequences down the line. It undermines trust, erodes integrity, and creates a culture of complacency, where errors are tolerated and excellence is discouraged. Remember, correcting a mistake doesn't make you a troublemaker, a disruptive force, or a negative influence, it makes you a steward of truth, a champion of excellence, and a valuable contributor to the overall success of the team. As Epictetus advised, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. The same principle applies here: how you address mistakes, how you respond to errors, reflect your character, reveal your values, and demonstrate your commitment to ethical behavior. Speak up when you see an error, not to assign blame or to seek retribution, but to ensure that the collective goal remains untarnished, that the overall outcome is the best it can be. In doing so, you align yourself with virtue, build trust with those around you, and foster an environment of integrity and excellence, where everyone is encouraged to strive for the highest standards of performance and to take responsibility for their actions. Situation number 5, when your expertise can help others. Knowledge is not just a personal asset, a commodity to be hoarded and accumulated for personal gain. It is a responsibility, a tool that can be used to empower others, alleviate suffering, and contribute to the greater good. When you possess expertise, when you have knowledge that can ease someone's burden, solve a problem, offer clarity in a difficult situation, or provide guidance in a time of need, staying silent is a disservice, not only to them but also to yourself. It's a failure to live up to your potential, to contribute your unique talents to the world, and to make a positive impact on the lives of those around you. The Stoics believed deeply in the concept of shared humanity, in the interconnectedness of all people, and in the responsibility we have to care for one another. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "What is not good for the hive is not good for the bee." This emphasizes that we are all part of a larger community, and that our individual well-being is inextricably linked to the well-being of others. Your knowledge, your skills, your experiences are valuable resources, tools meant to serve the greater good, not trophies to be kept on a shelf, hidden away from the world. I recall a moment when a close acquaintance was grappling with overwhelming grief after losing a loved one, a loss that had left them scattered and isolated. As someone who had navigated similar waters, having experienced the pain and devastation of personal loss myself, I recognized the signs of emotional isolation and despair in their behavior. They had withdrawn from social interaction, lost interest in activities they once enjoyed, and were struggling to cope with the overwhelming weight of their grief. Yet I hesitated to share my experience, to offer my support, or to provide guidance. I worried that I might say the wrong thing, that my words would come across as intrusive or insensitive, that I would somehow exacerbate their pain rather than alleviate it. But as the days went on, and their silence grew heavier, their isolation deepened, and their suffering intensified, I realized that my hesitation wasn't protecting them, it was abandoning them in their pain, leaving them to navigate the difficult and often treacherous waters of grief alone. One evening, I decided to reach out, to overcome my fear of saying the wrong thing and to offer my support in a way that felt authentic and compassionate. I simply said, "I know this pain is hard to carry alone. I've been there. If it helps, I'd love to share what helped me." That simple offer, that small act of reaching out, opened the floodgates of a conversation they desperately needed, a chance to express their grief, to share their memories, and to feel seen and heard in their suffering. Over time, my insights, my experiences, and my support became a source of comfort and guidance, helping them to navigate the complexities of grief, to find ways to cope with their loss, and to gradually rebuild their lives. Your experiences, particularly the painful ones, the challenges you have overcome, and the lessons you have learned, hold the potential to guide others through similar struggles, to offer hope in the face of despair, and to provide practical advice in times of need. Whether it's offering a listening ear to someone facing a health crisis, providing financial advice to a friend struggling with debt, sharing your journey of recovery from addiction, or simply offering encouragement to someone who is feeling lost and overwhelmed, your expertise can be a lifeline, a beacon of hope in a sea of uncertainty. The key is to approach with humility and sensitivity, never assuming you have all the answers, never claiming to be an expert, but showing you care enough to try, to offer your support, and to share your experiences in a way that is both helpful and respectful. A thoughtful phrase like, "I've been through something similar. Would you like to hear what worked for me?" can create a safe space for dialogue, inviting the other person to share their experiences, ask questions, and receive support without feeling judged or pressured. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what we can control, to accept what we cannot change, and to act in accordance with virtue. You cannot erase another person's pain, guarantee they will embrace your help, or solve all their problems overnight. But you can control the intention behind your actions, the compassion you offer, and the willingness to share your knowledge and experience in a way that is both helpful and supportive. Offer your expertise not for validation or applause, not for personal gain or recognition, but because it reflects your commitment to making a positive impact on the lives of others, because it aligns with your values, and because it fulfills your sense of purpose. This choice strengthens relationships, fosters trust, and creates a culture of support and collaboration, where everyone feels empowered to share their knowledge and help one another. Remaining silent when your knowledge or experience could ease someone's suffering is not humility, it is withholding a lifeline, neglecting your responsibility to contribute to the well-being of others, and diminishing your own sense of purpose. As Epictetus emphasized, don't explain your philosophy. Embody it. Sharing what you've learned through your struggles, offering your expertise to those in need, and living a life of service is a profound act of virtue, one that not only uplifts others but also deepens your own sense of purpose, fulfillment, and lasting satisfaction. So, let's recap. We've explored 5 critical situations where silence can be detrimental to ourselves and others. We learned that speaking out against injustice builds moral character, setting boundaries fosters respect, honesty upholds integrity, correcting mistakes ensures progress, and sharing expertise supports others. I would love to hear about your experiences. Please hit subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and leave a comment below to share your story, your successes, and even the challenges you've overcome in speaking up. If you're not sure what to comment, just write, "I can do it," to show that you've completed this session and are committed to putting these principles into action. Your engagement helps this community grow toward wisdom and the art of turning every challenge into an opportunity. I'll leave 2 more videos here so you can continue learning and growing on your personal development journey. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next video.